Imagine stepping out of a time machine into a world 30 million years in the past. You are in Asia, on a vast wooded savanna that will one day become Pakistan. The air is thick with the scent of ancient vegetation. In the distance, you see something that defies belief. It is not a herd, but a single moving mountain of flesh and bone that blocks out the horizon. It has the powerful build of a horse magnified to an impossible scale, a neck long enough to trouble the treetops, and a head that seems to be a strange fusion of a horse and a tapir. This is Paraceratherium, a 20-ton giant, and it was, for millions of years, the largest mammal to ever walk the earth. It was, impossibly, a rhino. Not the armored, horned fortress we know today, but a member of a lost dynasty of rhinos, a family far grander, stranger, and more diverse than we could ever imagine. This is the story of that giant and the incredible forgotten world it ruled. To understand our titan, we must first travel even further back to the Eocene epoch, around 50 million years ago. This was a hothouse world, a planet of sweltering global temperatures. Dense tropical jungles stretched from pole to pole. In the humid undergrowth of what is now North America lived a creature named Hyraceus. It was small, no bigger than a pig, and completely hornless. It may not look like much, but this humble animal was one of the earliest known ancestors of the entire rhinoceros lineage. And it wasn't alone in its unassuming appearance. Back in the early Eocene, the ancestors of rhinos, horses, and tapirs were all so remarkably similar in their size and lifestyle. If you saw them side by side, you would struggle to tell them apart. This is a fundamental lesson in evolution. The further back we travel in time, the more the branches of the family tree converge. These animals looked alike because they were, in the grand scheme of things, very close cousins, having only recently split from a common ancestor. These three families, the horses, tapirs, and rhinos, are the last living remnants of a once dominant order of mammals known as the Paracerdactyls, or odd-toed ungulates. The name sounds complex, but the idea is simple, and it all comes down to their feet. Paracerdactyls possess an uneven number of toes, and their body weight is channeled primarily through a large central toe. A horse's hoof is the ultimate expression of this, a single massive toe on each leg. This is in stark contrast to the other great lineage of hoofed mammals, the artiodactyls, or even-toed ungulates. This group includes nearly all other familiar hoofed animals, deer, cattle, camels, pigs, hippos, and giraffes, and they distribute their weight across two central toes, forming the classic cloven hoof. Today, artiodactyls are the undisputed champions, the most common and diverse large herbivores in almost every ecosystem on Earth. But this was not always so. For a vast stretch of geological time, from about 45 to 25 million years ago, it was the age of the Paracerdactyls. They were the ones who were far more populous, diverse, and frankly, far more bizarre. During this golden age, the Paracerdactyl family tree sprouted some truly fantastical branches. Consider the Chalicotheres. These were paracerdactyls that broke the mold entirely, evolving not hooves, but large, formidable claws on their feet. Some species, like Anisodon, evolved a body plan strikingly similar to a modern gorilla, with forelimbs much longer and more powerful than their hind limbs. It's believed they walked on their knuckles to protect their claws, using their long arms and hooked digits to pull down high branches to feed. They were nature's strange experiment, a horse that wanted to be a gorilla. Then there were the brontas, the thunderbeasts. These were magnificent, rhino-sized animals, famous for the large, often Y-shaped, bony protrusions on their snouts. At a glance, they looked like monstrous rhinos, but this was a spectacular case of convergent evolution. Their teeth and skull structure reveal they were actually more closely related to horses. These skin-covered bony battering rams were likely used for dramatic wrestling matches between males. The brontothers were titans of the Eocene, but their reign ended around 35 million years ago. The extinction of the brontothers coincided with the dawn of a new geological epoch, the Oligocene. This was a world in transition. The age of dinosaurs was a distant memory, and mammals were now the undisputed rulers of the planet. Yet, it was a world populated by alien fauna. The ancestors of modern cats and dogs were still small, marginal predators. The role of apex carnivore was instead filled by the creodonts, a completely separate and now extinct order of mammals. They had independently evolved many of the same predatory tools, like shearing teeth and powerful claws. In the seas, whales like the serpentine Basilosaurus were fearsome toothed hunters. Their tiny vestigial hind legs serving as a ghostly reminder of their terrestrial origins. This was also a time of significant climate change. The globe began to cool, causing the vast jungles to recede and give way to more open woodlands and savannas. This environmental shift created new opportunities, especially for large herbivores. And it was in this changing world that the rhino superfamily truly exploded in diversity. At some point, the lineage split. One branch became the rhinos rotata, the true rhinos that would eventually lead to the 5 species we have today. The other branch became the Paraceratherium, the long-necked hornless rhinos. The first hint of Paraceratherium's existence came from teeth and jaw fragments unearthed in Pakistan. Their rhino-like features were unmistakable. Consequently, the earliest scientific reconstructions simply depicted a rhinoceros, but scaled up to an almost comical, colossal size. This image of a gargantuan, traditionally built rhino persisted for some time. However, new discoveries soon began to challenge this simple interpretation. The unearthing of elongated neck vertebrae and surprisingly long, slender limb bones suggested a very different, more graceful body plan. This ignited a debate that raged for much of the early 20th century. Was Paraceratherium a ponderous 20-ton rhino, or was it a more elegantly built giraffe-like mammal? The skull held the final, crucial clues. It was long but remarkably narrow. Most importantly, the nasal opening was not at the front of the snout, but was retracted far back on the skull. In addition, the bone around this opening was rough and deeply pitted with scars, indicating the attachment points for exceptionally large and powerful muscles. This combination of features is a paleontological smoking gun. It strongly points to the presence of a prehensile upper lip or, more likely, a short muscular trunca proboscis. This means the head of this giant rhino may have looked more like that of a modern tapir. The most up-to-date reconstructions have settled somewhere in the middle. Paraceratherium was neither a sluggish tank nor a delicate giraffe. Instead, it was a truly unique creature, a gigantic, powerfully built animal with the proportions of a colossal horse. A long, thick neck and a tapir-like face perfectly adapted for browsing on high branches. And even without the exaggerated bulk of early drawings, its size remains mind-boggling. A composite skull, reconstructed from fragments of several individuals, measures an astonishing 1.3 meters over 4 feet long. While we lack a complete articulated spine to know its exact neck posture, its limbs are very well represented in the fossil record. By scaling up from the bones of the largest known species, paleontologists estimate its height. Paraceratherium could have reached a shoulder height of almost 5 meters or 16 feet. That measurement alone, just to the top of its back, is taller than a fully grown male African elephant. Any additional height from its muscular neck would have simply solidified its status as one of the most towering land mammals of all time. Could anything challenge its title? Perhaps. The elephant family later produced its own contender in Paleoloxodon, the straight-tusked elephant. Fragmentary remains of one species, Paleoloxodon pneumaticus, suggest an animal of such immense bulk. It may have rivaled or even exceeded Paraceratherium in sheer body mass. So while Paraceratherium was likely the taller animal, Paleoloxodon may have been the heavier one. While Paraceratherium was browsing the treetops of Asia, its true rhino cousins, the Rhinocerotidae, were exploring different lifestyles. They first appear in the fossil record a little over 30 million years ago. One of the most fascinating was Mammal, which roamed the savannas of North America. It was a lightly built animal, only about the size of a pig. Its most peculiar feature was its horns. Males sported 2 small horns, not one behind the other, but positioned side by side on the tip of their snout. Fossils of Mammal are often found in huge bone beds containing the remains of hundreds of individuals who perished together. This strongly suggests a lifestyle completely alien to modern rhinos. They were not solitary giants. They were highly social, living in vast herds that thundered across the plains, more like modern wildebeest than their living relatives. These smaller, herding rhinos eventually vanished around 20 million years ago. However, larger, more solitary rhinos, like the hippo-like teleoceras, continued to thrive in North America. The direct ancestors of the 5 species living today first appeared in Asia around 20 million years ago. As millions of years passed, the incredible diversity that once characterized the rhino superfamily began to dwindle. The Paraceratherium, the herding rhinos, the hippo-like forms all disappeared. By the time the Ice Age began about 2 million years ago, all rhinos conformed to the familiar, stocky, horned body plan. But even then, there was greater diversity than we see now. The most famous lost species is the woolly rhino, a shaggy-coated inhabitant of the cold Eurasian steppes, closely related to the modern Sumatran rhino. But it shared its icy world with an even more spectacular beast, Paraceratherium. This was a true giant, taller than a man at the shoulder and weighing as much as an Asian elephant. It was more distantly related to living rhinos, and its most stunning feature was a single, colossal horn that grew not from its snout, but from a huge, bony dome on its forehead. For centuries, tales of unicorns have persisted in human culture. It is plausible that ancient encounters with the skulls of this magnificent creature helped inspire those legends. The story of the rhinoceros is one of extraordinary evolutionary creativity followed by profound loss. From a humble, pig-sized forest dweller, they diversified into a breathtaking array of forms. There were clawed gorilla mimics, massive horse relatives with battering ram heads, and the towering, trunk-faced Paraceratherium, a creature that held the title of largest land mammal for millions of years. They were a global success story. Today, that entire magnificent dynasty has been whittled down to a mere 5 species. They are living relics, pushed into fragmented habitats in Africa and Asia. Of those 5, 4 are teetering on the precipice of extinction, victims of poaching and habitat destruction. They are the last survivors, a final, faint echo of a lost world. A lost world where rhinos, in all their weird and wonderful forms, truly ruled the earth. If you found this journey back in time as fascinating as I did, and if you enjoyed exploring the lost world of these incredible creatures, please consider leaving a like on the video to let me know. I would love to read your thoughts in the comments below. Which of these prehistoric rhinos surprised you the most? Thank you for watching.